some of the things that were said over the last day or two having to do with Zelensky, because when he considers Zelensky not credible, he's supposed to be making a deal with him, whether you like him or you don't like him. So I wasn't happy with that. But I think he's going to be good. And I certainly wouldn't want to put secondary tariffs on Russia, but if they were put on, it would not be very good for that.
But the president is also criticizing Zelensky, who he says is now trying to reverse course on a rare minerals deal. This was that agreement that the president and Zelensky were supposed to sign last month before a blowout in the Oval Office. After that spat, Zelensky said he was ready to move ahead with the deal, but the president suggests there may have been more snags.
I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. If we made a deal on rare earth, and now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
Mike Baker. Mike, I think President Trump has a right to sound frustrated because for two sides that should really want an immediate end to this war, they sure aren't acting like it, Mike.
Well, yeah, that's if your assumption is that Putin really wants an immediate end to this war. And I don't think that's necessarily what's going on here. So, honestly, I'm not surprised that Putin's dragging his feet. He feels that he's got the upper hand. He feels he's got all the cards here. And so I'm not surprised at his stance. And I think it's more complicated than just both sides want a deal. Let's get to the table and cut a deal.
So what does Trump do to pressure Putin? Because I think you touched on the important point. You know, many scholars have said Putin doesn't want this thing to end. Putin wants this thing to drag out into 2026 and potentially beyond. So what is President Trump's next move to turn the screws on Vladimir Putin?
Yeah, well, I think that it's a great question. It's really at the heart of all this. And I think the answer is the economics of it all. Right? Because most of those same people who feel that Putin's dragging this out will also agree that Russia's economy is shot full of holes. There's a lot of problems there. And if there is one thing that will bring Putin to the table, it's the sense that, that his economy is about to go completely under, right? I mean, he's being propped up essentially by the Chinese regime under Xi Jinping, to some degree, other countries, North Korea, Iran, India to some degree because of their buying of Russian oil and gas and then refining it and selling it on to the outside world. So I think we've got to go with more sanctions. Look, at the end of the day, the Russian energy sector is what keeps that country moving forward. They've got the GDP of a small EU country. And so if you put this squeeze on the energy sector in a meaningful way, because it really hasn't been meaningful up to this point, right? Then, I think that's your best tactic here.
I think you nailed it. They don't have much other than their oil and gas. And if we do anything to compromise that, I think we do get the upper hand. So the ball is in President Trump's court in all likelihood when push comes to shove on that. You mentioned Iran, the president also addressing possible secondary tariffs on Iran after Iran ruled out negotiating directly with the U.S. on a nuclear deal.